Hello, we are live. How's everyone doing? Feels like those like stand-up comedians. Gotta moderate, gotta break the ice. Nice, nice. Yeah, I shared in the chat a little icebreaker. Love to see some interactions going. Let's get some connections. This is a great user guiding community, and we want to keep doing these webinars so everyone can learn from each other, of course, based off of practices that we also provide, like we product like growth, some onboarding strategies, adoption, and all of this. So, nice, Whistler, Canada. Nice, Rob, Andrea, Ben. Uh, some people from North America, some from Europe. Good to see some variety of people. Got some product managers, customer success. Yeah, customer success. This webinar is very much relevant for customer success, of course, retention, trying to keep customers happy and engaged with the product is one of the most important things. We have a whole department for customer success for this to ensure retention and proper adoption of tools, features, and make sure that the customers have a healthy relationship with your product and your company. Love to see it. I grew up in Canada, so that's why I got got excited to see that. Nice to meet you, Rob. So yeah, let's get to it. My name is Jude. Thank you everyone for joining the webinar today. We have a lot of great content, mainly talking about lifetime value, customer lifetime value. It's a topic that is very underrated, actually. Everyone talks about lead generation and onboarding, as we do, of course, but everything is nowadays focused on lead generation. And we forget talking about the nurturing, the adoption, the retention, of course, trying to decrease any kind of churn or unsatisfied customers that do come into the customer life cycle, and you want to be able to retain that as much as possible. So this is going to be the main topic of our webinar today, and we're going to keep it engaged. So usually in our webinars, we have some polls going, and this way everyone also gets to kind of interact and understand a little bit more of the value that we're trying to provide, some stats here and there. It'll be fun, it'll be engaging. So yeah, just keep the conversation going in the public chat. Just a couple of housekeeping. We will have Q&As at the end. Even we have some of our team members as well in the chat here. So if there's any like questions, we can, Levent is there to reply to them, and we can talk about them, also discuss them at the end of the webinar, the last 15 minutes. Let's get going. All right. So how to increase customer lifetime value in 2025 with user guiding. So this is what we're going to be covering today. It's basically looking at strategies to drive revenue, retention, and growth. And we're going to highlight some of those key factors, key metrics that go into play with lifetime value. As I mentioned, my name is Jude. I've been with User Guiding for more than 3 years now, started with sales, now in marketing, some growth marketing, of course, doing some webinars here and there. But yeah, these topics are super fun and super relevant to all SaaS, B2B, B2C companies. And honestly, it's just something that you can learn from and take with you when, any other job position that you have. So going through the agenda today, we're going to talk about the basics of lifetime value, understanding breaking down what lifetime value is, why it's so important, and we'll look at how to calculate lifetime value, explore some strategies and different ways that we can increase it and try to maximize that. And of course, I want to share with you also some misconceptions and pitfalls, some things that you want to avoid when you are setting that lifetime value as a metric. And finally, we'll wrap it up with a little demo. So just taking everything that we talked about and showing you how you can implement that with user guiding. And finally, some Q&As. Before we dive in, actually, let's begin with one kind of icebreaker question. And I want to understand how many of the people that we have here are already tracking lifetime value as a metric. So trying to find the poll here. We'll get it started. Are you currently tracking lifetime value in your operations? There we go. So you can say, yeah, of course, obviously, this is a very important metric, and it's the only metric that we track. Um, Sometimes you might be overlooking it as well. You say, it's actually not the most important metric for us. Um, or maybe it could be something that you recently learned. So if you're a small business and or you're a junior and you just started getting into customer success, product marketing, adoption, and all of this, um, even as a product manager, this is a metric that is actually relevant to everyone because, as everyone knows, like revenue is one of the most important metrics to get, and just new customer acquisition isn't the one only metric that you'll need to keep track, because when you acquire them, okay, that's great, but then also, of course, you need to kind of retain them, right? And actually, most of the time, it's a little bit more important than just acquiring new customers. It's very interesting to see that a lot of people are still just like learning. It is a very underrated topic. I will say this. I haven't seen much about it. There's not a lot of content about it, even actually. So everything that we'll be sharing today is based off of our own research in the market, and of course, our belief of uh, the onboarding and the whole customer journey. It all comes in a package. So you onboard them, and then you want to increase the adoption. It's a win-win for both situations, right? The company, the product, and the end user. Cool. We'll stop the poll here. So yeah, we got like about half that are still just learning about this. Keep your questions coming in the chat, or if there's anything popping up in your mind, let us know, and we'll have a discussion, nice conversation about that as well. So let's start with the basics, right? So what is lifetime value, and what does that actually mean? So to put it simply, it's basically the total revenue that your business gets from this like one customer. So when you acquire a new customer, they from a lead, they become a customer. It's not just a one-off transaction, right? You're gonna keep having a steady flow of net revenue coming in from this one customer. So it's basically your relationship with this customer over their customer lifetime, and it's the value that you get from this one customer at the end of the day for the whole journey. Nice. So what happens is the importance of lifetime value is that it helps you predict the net revenue that you get from a single customer. So it helps you allocate the resources that you have effectively, and you want to try to avoid over investing in low value segments. And these are all information, all data that you can get already from what's been working for you, what's not. Understanding your customer and your target audience that you already have is one of the most important ways of understanding lifetime value and evaluating that. And it does have a formula, right? So this formula, it's kind of basic, but you'll apply it for um, anything, for like understanding and keeping track of the metrics. So the first part of it is the average purchase value. So the average customer that you have, take all your customers, right? What is the average value of that? How much is the average customer spending? Second is the purchase frequency. How often are they buying? If it's a subscription base, it's different. If it's just a one-time product, it's different. And then third is the customer lifespan. What does that look like? Are customers coming in and out every 6 months, or is it just are they there for 10 years, 15 years? Are they that dependent on it? But we'll go into further detail. We'll break this down in a moment. We're going to keep it interactive, guys. We're going to have some more questions coming in. And the question that I have for you is a little poll. And I want to understand, based off of, let's say, your prediction, right? How much do you think comes from 20% of your current customers? So how much revenue do you think comes from your current customers? Right, and we'll start this poll here. So you got 50%, 65, 80, 90. Right, 20% of your customers. It's very interesting seeing a bunch of different answers. Because you would think that one of the answers is an obvious one isn't. So your current customers, right? What percentage of revenue typically comes for B2B SaaS businesses? Most of the people said 65, which is very interesting. But it's actually 80. So it's called the Pareto principle, and I might be butchering the name. But basically, your total revenue that you are getting from customers, it's actually 80% of it is coming only from 20% of your customers. So these 20%, they're making 80% of your net revenue, which is why, of course, it goes without saying that, understanding and keeping track of such a metric is quite important for the overall growth of the company. Nice. Another question coming up. And this one is also very interesting. So, how much more expensive is it to acquire a new customer compared to retaining an existing one? How much do you think? Is it 2 times more expensive, 3, 5, 8? 8 times. It is pretty expensive. Like there's a lot that goes into acquiring leads, acquiring customers, even just getting them from uh, setting awareness, right? Getting them to check out your tool and then making the decision of becoming a customer. There's a lot of money that is being thrown into this process in the beginning in order to get them to convert to a customer. Yeah, Theodore, the 2080 rule. Yes. Nice, nice. Actually, these questions were in the promotion of the webinar. So if you received the emails or you actually, saw some of the information on LinkedIn, we did share some of these metrics when we were promoting it, just to get people to understand how important of a metric it is to, keep an eye on lifetime value. I'll stop the poll here. So it's actually 5 times more expensive to acquire a new customer compared to retaining an existing one. So once you retain a customer, you really want to hold on to this guy for as much as possible because you already went through that whole process of getting them and convincing them to, becoming a customer. So, and in today's SaaS environment, you have so many competition, you have so much competition. So once you've acquired this customer, you really want to try to retain them as much as possible and get them from a newbie customer to a power user. We'll talk about this in more details, but it's very interesting because it all has to do with the customer journey and their life cycle. So yeah, 80% of revenue comes from 20% of customers, and acquiring new customers is 5 times more expensive than retaining them. And finally, B2B SaaS customers, they usually stay subscribed because once they've chosen a tool, they don't want to go again through this whole process of trying to find another tool, right? So they stay dependent, let's say, or subscribed to this one solution for about 3 to 7 years. Of course, if your solution is embedded in their operation, so if they're actually using it. Nice. So yeah, basically these are the metrics of why lifetime value is important. It's an important metric to keep track of. So you want to maximize revenue as much as possible. You already got them in your pocket, right? You already got the customer, so you want to try to maximize the revenue, the profitability that they can get, and right, elevating customer loyalty as well. And this also drives sustainable growth. So in short, lifetime value it's not just like a number that you want to achieve, but it's the cornerstone of the business strategy that you really want to attain. So who should focus on lifetime value? right? So your customer lifetime value, you should focus on it. We have a couple of customer success people here. So of course, this is going to be one of their main metrics that they would need to keep an eye on. But basically, overall, B2B SaaS and B2B business, B2C SaaS businesses, or if they have a subscription-based model, it's also very important because subscription-based models, usually it's easier to churn from. So you want to, as much as possible, try to decrease any of churn potential for that. And it's very relevant for reoccurring revenue. So it's critical for businesses with high customer acquisition costs as well to keep track of that. Yeah. So I mentioned customer acquisition cost, right? So let's see, I have another poll here. Right. So there's this relationship between lifetime value and customer acquisition cost, as I've mentioned earlier. And there is a kind of it's not a metric, but it's a number of what is considered a healthy lifetime value to customer acquisition cost ratio in SaaS businesses. And what I want to know is, what do you think would be that healthy ratio? So is it 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, or 5-to-1? So basically, how much more expensive is lifetime value or lifetime value? How high would it be compared to the customer acquisition cost? What is the healthy ratio? We already mentioned that customer acquisition is really costly, right? It's more costlier than attaining the ones that you have. But of course, at the end of the day, you want to get the customers as well, get them a customer, and then you want to retain them. But where is that balance? What is considered a healthy lifetime value to customer acquisition cost ratio for SaaS businesses? So we got 2-to-1, 3-to-1, and 5-to-1. Of course, 1-to-1 doesn't make much sense either. So I'll stop the poll here. And the number is actually 3-to-1, right? Let's remove the poll 1 second here. Yeah. So if you see at the bottom, lifetime value to customer acquisition ratio is critical for profitability, and the ideal ratio is 3-to-1. So in the long term, in the beginning, the customer, acquiring that customer, you're gonna have to give like I don't know what you call it in English actually, but it's like a one-time kind of investment in order to acquire this customer. But in the long term, it's gonna become profitable, right? And we'll look at that for more in more details when it comes to that formula as well. I want to provide a example here of what that would look like actually. So a healthy ratio, right? So you got the 3-to-1, meaning that every dollar you spend in acquiring a new customer, that one customer, like your aim is to earn $3 back in revenue. Okay, so over their lifetime, over their relationship with your company, as long as they're your customer. So to put it in a simple term, let's say for example, your average purchase value is $100, and actually I'm going to use UserGuiding as an example of that because we got different plans. So yeah, just keeping in mind, we have of course the basic plan, we got the professional plan, and then enterprise. But for the sake of this example, we can look at that average purchase value. For this example, it would be like $100, for example, and then the purchase frequency. How often are they purchasing? For this one, it could be 12 times a year. Going on, if they are a monthly subscriber, sometimes it might be 6 months for the average that you have. A customer might be 6 months, might stay subscribed for 6 months, and then another customer might be subscribed for, I don't know, 23 months. And you can get the average of that. For example, we can say 12 here, and then the customer lifespan would be 3 years. So if you take that average purchase value times purchase frequency every month, annual, and the customer lifespan, then you'll get $3,600. That's the lifetime value. That's what you're predicting that this customer, acquiring this customer, is going to bring you 3,600. Using that 3-to-1 ratio, and this is turning into like a basic math course, but using that 3-to-1 ratio to acquire that customer, it shouldn't cost more than 1,200, right? So in that sense, that's how you can kind of apply that metric and formula to understand lifetime value to customer acquisition cost. Now that we talked about, now we have an understanding of lifetime value, right? And what it looks like, what it actually looks like. And we got some numbers going on. And I talked about those like 3 parameters of lifetime value. Now, how do you increase it? How do you ensure that you're able to maximize it to the max? So first, there are 3 main levers that I mentioned, right? So you got to increase the purchase value, increase the purchase frequency, and extend those customer lifespan. And for example, you can, for increasing the purchase value, you can upsell, cross-sell, you can encourage some upgrades or add-ons, and this way, slowly, these customers are paying a little bit more, and it increases that average purchase value that you have per customer. And then second is increasing that purchase frequency. So an example could be pushing monthly subscribers to becoming annual plans, or even if going from monthly to annual is a lot, then maybe you can have some custom 6 months bi-yearly plans as well. So this way you are able to ensure a more stable flow of the customer's purchase and frequency, and you're ensuring that they're staying longer in your company. And finally, extending that customer lifespan. So this could be, of course, like improving the retention, the adoption. You want them to be dependent on your solution and happy, right, and satisfied with the product itself. So the deeper that they're using your tool, the more features they're adopting, the more they're dependent on it, and this way churning is going to be actually hard for them as well. So this is another way that you can try to maximize that lifetime value. We'll explore these strategies in more details. So when it comes to user guiding, right, and how you're able to use user guiding to leverage and maximize that lifetime value of your current customers, of course, we've got some best practices here, and streamlining the onboarding is one of the also underrated way of doing it, but it's very important and very crucial. So one of the best ways to extend that customer lifespan is actually from the get-go. So by streamlining their initial user onboarding, ensuring that you have a smooth onboarding, it's very quick, it's informative, then you ensure that they'll be able to stick around longer. So our onboarding solution and what we practice is basically that 7-second rule. So the first 7 seconds that your user is engaging with your tool, with your product, they're logging in, they should be able to see the value right away, right? That first 7 seconds, it's actually what's going to dictate the continuation of that relationship between your tool and the end user. So by using like interactive walkthroughs, guides, some step-by-step tutorials here and there, and then by gamifying it with a checklist, you're decreasing their time to value, which ensures that they'll be able to complete those actions, those critical actions, for them to adopt your tool. So that first time, the first 7 seconds, very crucial, and it helps with it makes it faster for them to adopt your product, and it lowers the churn potential for a longer lifespan. Going along with that, the second one is personalization. So again, trying to ensure that you're providing them with the highest quality in the least amount of time. And so the second strategy is that personalization, and by tailoring that user journey that they have, their user experience to their individual needs, then you can drive higher engagement and retention. So segmenting the users by roles, by industry, behavior, or delivering like role specific onboarding flows. This helps with like getting them to, of course, adopt and straight to that value again. And one way that we do it, which I'll show you during the demo as well, is you can also give them the option of selecting what they want to do on your tool. One thing that you learn for the people that come from like a marketing background, in marketing, you always learn that you want to create material and create content that resonates with your lead or your customer, or potential customer, of course. So by providing that personalized experience, you're actually tapping into that kind of emotional part of the user, and they feel valued. And then it also encourages them to like continue with the adoption, continue exploring the solution. And if you're giving them the right tools, if you're putting the right beacons, or the right messages in the right place, then they'll definitely get that value, and it'll be much easier for them to get to accomplish and achieve the things that they want to do on your platform. And yeah, going along with that, of course, improving the adoption. So improving the adoption and ensuring that your customers are getting the most out of your product. Not everything, of course, because you don't want to bombard them with everything, right? They're going to drop off. It's going to feel very overwhelming, and they're going to get frustrated because they're not finding actually the valuable content that they're looking for. So you want to help with the adoption and get some feedback as well. So using like NPS surveys, or even other than just NPS, you can have custom surveys and make the questions fun and relevant to them. And using usage analytic as well. So what is this customer using? What are they not using? Maybe you can help identify also underused features, and then create an app announcements, notifications, beacons, hotspots to highlight them, add some hotspots, yeah, and encourage some exploration for that. So the more features they use, the more dependent they become on it, and the longer they stay. All right. Basically, so we talked about those like three functions. You have like that higher feature adoption, and then high increased dependency equals the longer lifespan, and then plus when it comes to calculating that lifetime value, you have you want to increase the purchase, the average purchase that you get from them, average transaction, and increase that lifetime value. So before jumping into the demo, there's another way to remember like that lifetime value to a customer acquisition cost ratio, where lifetime value should be at least like 3 times higher than customer acquisition cost. So the metrics that we talked about earlier, right? So this average purchase value, average purchase frequency, and customer lifespan. So it's like 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. So your lifetime value should be 3 times higher than that customer acquisition cost. And some of the things that I'll need to highlight, when you have that lifetime value metric set, and this is something that you want to increase, then there are some things to keep in mind. So it's not just about acquisition, right? So it's about retention. You want to keep that retention, highlight that. And high lifetime value doesn't always mean that it's always profitable if your acquisition costs are higher. So you want to watch out for some things like over investing in low value segments. So understanding your customers, where your customers are coming from, and if you're able to segment them by the ones that are in the lower tier, then you don't want to invest so much in acquiring them, because their lifetime value is going to be much lower than the ones that are coming from the ones that are like high paying customers. So yeah, you wouldn't want to exceed that acquisition costs. when it comes to the revenue that you're earning from a customer. How are we doing in the chat? We got some engagement here. Lovely. We're halfway through. Finally, we're going to show you a quick demo, right? So what does that actually look like? So we talked about the onboarding, the importance of that initial streamlined onboarding, and we have lots of different material when it comes to the best practices of new customer onboarding or converting trial to customer. But for the sake of lifetime value, we'll talk about that onboarding, the first impression implementation. We'll talk about gamification, some personalization, how you're able to personalize that for your customers as well, and talk about the adoption. So what does that actually look like? Look at the metrics. How can you use the metrics to identify those users that have that are potential for upgrades, upsell, and understanding their user behavior and usage behavior as well. And of course, you can get all of that in additional layers by using the integrations that we have. Lovely. Lots of interactions in the chat. Amazing. So first, what I'm going to show you is the way that we onboard users actually. So over here, as you can see from my screen, we'll go through some actions, some items, and show you what everything that we talked about when it comes to customer acquisition and lifetime value, how that actually translates in product. So by using user guiding, how you're able to identify any potentials for upgrades, upsells, any initiatives that you can use to announce, maybe segmenting monthly subscribers by yearly, and then those monthly ones, you can provide them with different pop-ups, different initiatives, campaigns, in order to push them to become annual subscribers. Perfect. So this is just a dummy account here. So this is the user guiding dashboard. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. This is where you can see all the metrics. 1 second, just refreshing here. It should be able to show me the onboarding that we have currently, but if my device is smart enough to know. All right, we can skip this part, no worries. Lovely. So what we have here, this is the playground as well. So we got a lot of different use cases, lots of different user guiding material as well. And one of the main ones, of course, is that product tour. So that initial 7 seconds that I talked about, instead of tracking your orders, what you can do is you can say, welcome to our platform. You can check it out here. You can add your image, your logo. You can even add a video to get users engaged, right? And this can pop up in their in the first time that they're logging in. So this way they don't have to do the whole exploration themselves, and you're able to guide them step by step. So what a user would do is, all right, I'll read this. Okay, looks cool. Next. Right? So right away, we're jumping into some interactivity here. So you're not just telling your users, this is where you find this is where you find that, here's this, here's that. It might not be relevant to your users, but what you want them to do is you want to get them to that value as fast as possible. And a great way to do that is not just by informing them about it, but actually guiding them to take that action to find the value. So you can say, all right, go to the orders, let's switch here. And what you'll notice is there's no button. So you're pushing the users to actually interact directly with the solution, with your tool, right? And the power of habit is very underrated as well. So by them taking that action, you're teaching them how to already operate in your platform, and they're learning, and this way they'll be able to adopt. And then you can also, of course, highlight the value of these different elements that you have, the importance of it, what they can do, some order status, right? And while you're creating the solution, the tools, the onboarding strategy and the product tours. You can also, of course, add some engaging elements as well. So for example, let me go back to the dashboard here. So what you can do is, as an example, this is a multi, one second, this one actually. You can give them questions about what would they like to achieve on the platform. So would they like to have that onboarding product tour, or would they want to check it out themselves? Multi-question, there we go. Right, so this is one of those NPS replacements. So you can ask different questions, get different answers instead of just a 0 to 10 questionnaire. So this way you'll have more understanding, and they can provide some more information, multiple questions as well. 1 second, I will just log into another account here. So this way we can begin looking at the metrics, understanding personalization, how you're able to do that, and some of the different elements that you can add to your product. All right. So we have here a lovely dashboard, lovely analytics. Analytics is the backbone of every data-driven product, data-driven team, and of course the cornerstone of success. So by using some of the metrics that you have here, you're able to understand what's working, what's not, how are people interacting with the solution. So we have lots of different guides here, and if we click on one of them, for example, these might be dummy ones as well. Oh, okay, we got some interaction here, so you can see the drop-off rate. Right, and this way, when you click on the list here, you can also see the views, the different users that interacted, they viewed it, and they completed the guide. So this way you'll get some user interaction, understanding which users are interacting with the tools, which ones are not. And by using the integrations, then you're able to send it to, for example, if you have a HubSpot as your CRM or Salesforce. So you can send a user guiding data to your CRM and integrate all this data together. And then you can, for example, if you've noticed that some of the customers, some of your users aren't using some of the solutions, they're not adopting, or they're not interacting, or they haven't logged in for a while, then you can send them emails. You can connect with them, contact them, and get some feedback, understand if they're able to find if they're able to achieve what they're looking for, or if they need any assistance with that. They might be looking for, at that point, like different solutions. If you see that they haven't logged in a while, they become like a critical customer. So you want to check their health score as well. How many of them are interacting? How many of them are not? And this way you can get a better understanding of, is that customer going to fulfill that customer lifetime value? So from our analytics, we got the users page here. And this is where you can see all the users that you have that are engaging with the user guiding tools. And you're able to create segments and filter out based off of any of the attributes that you have. So for example, let's say if we don't have a plan here. One of the attributes could be sending the plan. So if they're trial, basic, pro, you can create different segments. This is a practice that we use as well. And you can create pop-ups for campaigns to encourage those current customers to upgrade and sell. And they might not be aware of some of the solutions as well, or some of the campaigns. And once you've shared and communicated this information with them, then you have a much higher rate of them upgrading or doing some of the add-ons. If you see, for example, if you have a plan that has a limit of 3 team members, and they've already completed that, like 3 team members threshold, then that is a indicator of upgrade opportunity as well. So you can get a customer success manager to contact them and ask, did they want an add-on, or did they want to jump to the next tier plan? So you can ensure that they're getting more value from the solution, because they might not know that there's an opportunity for adding another team member, or what's in that upper tier plan. So this way, when you're able to communicate it, or let's say when you get that flag of this customer, there's a potential for upgrade, upsell, or an add-on, then that's a way to reach out to them. And then in the same case, where when you have campaigns to let's say, for example, like Halloween campaigns, or Black Friday, or these things, it's also another opportunity to push those monthly subscribers to become annual. And at that point, it becomes a win-win situation, because you ensure that they stick longer to your solution, and they get a little bit of a discount, which still, in the long term, when you're calculating that lifetime value, it's still more profitable, and you ensure that they're consistent and still increasing that lifetime value. So when it comes to the onboarding, right, we can create a new guide here. We can create a nice segment. You could say, for example, welcome to User Guiding. We can use the playground as an example here, so it'll take me directly to that playground. And when you create those flows, all the content, the guides, you can add them to a checklist. So this way, it's also gamifying that experience to them. So you can add some little guides to encourage more curiosity, discoverability for the users, and they're able to take that action themselves. And plus, you can always segment it based off of those user types. So if you understand that you have a product manager, for example, and you have a solution that product managers are going to use most of the time, then it makes sense to have an announcement for that segment itself. And when it comes to the personalization, right, you can say, welcome to our platform, and then you can add some more attributes and add their first name here. Or there's a fallback. You say, hey there. It's also tapping into that emotional, preface that your users can, while they're interacting within that first 7 seconds. And you can keep creating guides, create a nice flow, ensure that they're adopting, they're getting that value, and then in the back end, you're also able to see those metrics. How are they working? How are they not? And sending them to your CRM or data management tool. Looks good, everyone? Lovely so far. Yeah, so we looked at metrics, understanding the logins, the gamification, the first impression, personalization, some of the integrations finally that you can have is, the HubSpot, Salesforce is a new one. And for the NPS, you can track those survey responses as well directly to Slack. So as soon as you get information from or an answer from any of the users, then you can contact them right away to not lose that momentum. And this way, they're also understanding that, like, we're being valued. They're contacting us. They want to understand more. Thus, kind of building a better relationship, better quality relationship with your current customers. Superb. All right. Can you integrate with Teams? Sadly, we don't use Slack. Teams, we don't have a direct integration with Teams, but we do provide webhook integrations. So with webhook, I believe then you can do that. Yes. Rob asked about the integrations. I'll check in with that for you, Rob. No worries. And Ben asked, is there a way to surface guide issues, extreme drop-offs at scale without needing to go through every single one? Can you provide more information, Ben? So if you're having an extreme drop-off, then there are some better practices. There is a reason why people would be dropping off. So this way, there are some best practices to ensure lower drop. So for example, if you have 15 steps, 25 steps, I've seen guides with like a large number of steps. that's not the best practice for us. So on average, it shouldn't be more than 7. Okay, Ben has 80 guides. We don't easily wear. Okay. No worries. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, Ben. So Ben has a lot of guides, and you want to understand more of on the drop off. So um, yeah, actually, you can see the completion rate of the guides, and based off the completion rate, we can dive deeper into how many steps they are, and then at which step they're dropping off, and maybe kind of optimizing that way. Oh, we got a bunch of questions actually. Let's start with the beginning. All right, Theodore. Theodore asks, is it common to subtract the cost of customer acquisition in this lifetime value as well, or does that usually get tracked separately? Um, I mean, it depends really. Like, it depends on how much, how are you calculating that customer acquisition cost? Um, it would be, I mean, they're both related to each other, of course. If you want to look at the overall arching of profitability um, and all of that. All right. Got some integration questions. Is Oracle and NetSuite currently in the pipeline to add to integrate to the integrations? We'll share this, Tina. We'll share this with the product managers. No worry, this is something common that we get. And I believe there might be some, I'm not sure, like obstacles around those types of integrations because of the nature of Oracle and NetSuite. We'll definitely uh, let our product manager knows, and if there's anything in the pipeline, look out. I'll reach out to you and let you know as well. Evan asks, what is the integration process for joining user guiding data with the CRM like HubSpot? Great question, actually, and I will share with you afterwards. I'll share with you. We have when you look at the dashboard and there's the learn more tab there, it takes you to our help article that talks in detail about that. So basically, it's the same integrations, the same material that you get with the user on the user guiding dashboard. For example, if this contact saw a guide, completed a guide, these types of attributes, they become attributes in HubSpot, or vice versa. You want to send attributes from HubSpot as user attributes to user guiding and create segments, then you're able to do that as well. We got a long question from Rob. All right, let's see. What's your recommendation when it comes to creating tailored experiences and touch points after user completes certain actions? Right now, we have a trial communication sent to their email, but it's not tied to specific actions they complete yet. Is there a way to have user guiding tell your CRM when they've completed a specific action that you can trigger an email touch point? I believe yes. This is a very great question, Rob, because what you're trying to do is you want to optimize, let's say, their adoption and their usability, and if they're completing everything that you're all the guides that you're providing them, then that means your tool is actually is really good. So first of all, bravo and kudos to your team. And second, there's always room for optimization and increased adoption, I believe. And with the integration, there should also be, depends on your CRM, to be honest, but what I know is from HubSpot, for example, you can create a type of workflow where if a user falls under this attribute, then send this email to them. You can create something like this. You'll have to connect with your CRM, but of course, also connect with us as well. Our success team can definitely help you out with kind of creating that little flow of multi-channel communication with your team. Sorry, with your customers. Is it optimal to send emails or keep them engaged within the software? Honestly, it depends. I think both would be a good type of communication, because it depends on your solution as well. If the average login in your solution is once a month, then they're not going to get that communication. But it's actually the best time to communicate it, which is when they log in. So what I would recommend is you can do both, right? You can notify them outside, externally, from your product. So through email, of course, make it as personalized as possible. Something like, hey, we saw that you did this, and we want to let you know that this, and that. And this way, it'll kind of trigger a little bit of curiosity, and then they'll log in again. How do I get more visibility on the resource center? We have very little views. Interesting. So the resource center is also a tool that you're able to segment. And we do this really cool thing as well. Let's see if I can also share my screen. Sometimes it doesn't show because as a user guiding account on the dashboard. But if you go to our dashboard, then you're able to see that we have a general resource center. One second. A general resource center on the whole panel. And then when you go to the installation page, then the whole resource center changes, and it only has resources that are relevant to that page. So what you can do is, you can integrate the product updates, you can still guide users to that resource center, but it depends. Adding tools and content that is the most relevant to what users are trying to achieve, I would say this would have the best value, and this will encourage people to interact more with it. So in our installation page on the panel, when you open it, it only has resources about installation, and users are able to find the things that they're looking for much easier without having to go and type and try to look for it. So maybe not having like general content overall, or bombarding them with a lot of content, because a resource center is not a knowledge base, right? It shouldn't be that way. You can give them little updates here and there, but still make the content as much relevant as possible to that segment or to the page. Perfect. We still have a little bit of time. Lovely looks for the idea of having them dedicated to URL. Yeah, it's really cool. Lovely. Amazing. Before, of course, if there's any more questions, keep them coming. Before we let you go, actually. Let's see. All right, we're already planning the next webinar. It'll be February 20th with Navatic. And me and Natalie, we're going to talk about product-led onboarding. So it's going to be more on that PLG side. And we'll break down, that before and after sign up, or, external and internal in-app onboarding. And it's going to be very interesting. We're going to bring you some metrics, some reports that we've collected from last year. And hold on, I'll share some content in the chat here. So yes, Levent already shared it. So you can register there. Annalisa, thanks for the excitement. Love it. And one thing before I let you go as well is, got this form, just a little feedback as well, just to better understand what kind of content that you guys are looking for more. When it comes to the webinars, are you finding them helpful or not? Or is there other types of information that you'll be more interested in when it comes to any type of onboarding, product adoption? Are you looking for more stats related or podcast type of webinars? So it'll help us provide you with the material that will help you in the long run, especially with what you're doing with your product as well. Perfect. Awesome. So after the webinar, we'll send you a link to the upcoming webinar, the recording of this webinar, some resources and some material that is related to that lifetime value, calculating it, and making sure that retention is there for your users. And thank you everyone for joining. It was a pleasure, and see you in the next one. See ya.